Thanks for stopping by. Another session with Street Talk with Bar. As always, rest in peace, Mr. Magic. It takes a wise man to learn from his own mistakes, and even a wiser man to learn from the mistakes made by others. The photo you're looking at is a photo of Donnell Porter, 12 years old. Donnell was killed horrifically in Harlem back in December or January of 1989. So that's going back over 30 years ago. And I've named this topic, the title to this topic is called Casualties of War, which Donnell Porter was definitely a 12-year-old casualty of war. He had nothing to do with his brothers, who was the Harlem underground legendary figure in the streets from back in the 80s, Richard Porter. He had no dealings with his brother, his older brother, street doings, but he was tragically killed. It's just something to think about. Imagine the stress you get if you have your loved ones, and not just any loved one, a young loved one, fingers cut off and sent to you. That's horrific right there. Because you can only imagine the pain and suffering that that loved one is going through. And then to top it off, to find out your own uncle is involved with the whole planet of this. It just get crazy. Like, it's crazy. Rest in peace, Rich Porter. Rest in peace, Donnell Porter. And his uncle name was Apple. Now, it's just my assumption that Apple stumbled over or stumbled on Rich while he was getting a bag of money together for Fritz. Or maybe he had just got hit off with anywhere from 30 to 100 kilos from Fritz. And the reason why I say that, because once little Donnell was kidnapped, they put the ransom at $500,000. So why would the ransom be that high? Unless they really, because Rich Porter been in the streets since the early 80s, 82, 83. But the level he was at before he died, because of who he was associated with, that just brought him up like, to a whole nother level. And everybody who was like directly under Fritz, that brought all of their finances up to a whole nother level. It brought my finances up to a whole nother level, but for a short period of time, maybe about 4 months of just solid hustling. Because not too long after that, Fritz passed away. So we know that, like I said, Fritz had dudes like Rich Porter, and then he had the guy that I was dealing with. He had the guy that my brother was dealing with, and he had many other guys. And out of those three guys that, from who I was dealing with, Twan was dealing with, and Rich Porter, like I said, they will get anywhere from 30 to 100 birds at a time, depending on how big the shipment Fritz got was. So there was a time when my guy who I was dealing with, one day he had me follow him to the Bronx, because we had just picked up some money off the streets. It was like a little bit over 100,000 on a deal that me and him had made together. So we was bringing 100,000 to the spot in the Bronx. Lo and behold, he goes inside the closet and he pulls out a duffel bag full of more money, filled up with more money, even more money. And I'm looking at him like, like, damn, he wanted me to help him count it. And when we finished counting it, we didn't have money counters back then. We had to do that all by hand. So when he finished counting it, it was over $700,000. So being that I knew because he had told me this is because out of that 700,000, I think maybe 60, in between 40 and 60 of that belonged to him, to my guy. But the rest was going to Fritz. And like I said, had he not told me, I would just been thinking, damn, this is all his money. But don't get me wrong, he had money also. He definitely had money. But just me seeing those 6 figures right there, it had me thinking, some people would have probably been thinking, oh, I can get this nigga. And when I mean get him, I mean rob him, which was the route I believe Apple took when he seen Rich with all that product or all that money. That's why he based, like I said, over and over, that's why he based the ransom so high, because Rich didn't have access to it. But when I seen my boy with that amount of money, the first thing that went off in my head was, being that I'm closely associated with this guy and this team, I could have that too, because I already seen the kind of moves that I was making in Brooklyn. So it wouldn't have been long before I've been sitting on that kind of money myself. Thank God it didn't last long, because ain't no telling which direction it would have went. When you're dealing with a large amount of cocaine like that, the way them guys was doing it, federal indictments it comes with the territory. So they go another way. I was blessed to not get involved in nothing, because Fritz passed away, and once he passed away, everything just went downhill. But like I said, it's just my assumption from what I've been through with this organization, that Apple seen Rich either getting a bag of money together for Fritz or just coming with a bunch of kilos from Fritz. And he just thought, I'm going to do this to my own nephew. And that's there's no words to explain a person like Apple to do that to his own family members. I don't even know what to say about that. That's crazy. But, and here's a fact right here. In the Paid in Full movie, they had it where Mikhail Pfeiffer, who was playing Rich Porter, and Ace, that's supposed to be an AZ, and they were sitting in the car and they was discussing some things, and they was talking about some things in the car, and they said it was a thing where where AZ was supposedly giving Rich some money and some coke to help him with the finances towards his little brother Donnell's ransom money, the $500,000 that Rich was trying to get, to pay for his brother's safe return. Well, that's not true, because it wasn't AZ that was giving up that money to help Rich get his brother back. It was actually Fritz. So I don't know, when whoever wrote that part of the movie, they was misinformed, or they just I don't know who wrote that part of the movie, but that's a lie. And I'm standing on that, because I know the real. Wow.
It's 22 keys. 14 of them for Sonny. 8 of them I kept. Sell those, pay this connect back. It's in the bag, you know what I mean?
Alright.
Listen, fucking need anything, man. You understand?